Greetings, everyone. I'm excited to welcome Juha Riipi, CEO at Quanscient. Juha, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Ben. Happy to be here.
Yeah, great to have you here. Let's dive right in. Tell us a little bit about your background.
So I worked in consulting for 16 years before founding that. I'm trained as software developer. I did that for quite a while, but then I'd say the last 8 years of my career, I started shifting into more and more business-oriented roles. So did management consulting. I did a lot of sales, technical pre-sales, sales leadership positions, and kind of my last position before jumping to Quanscient was a business director sort of role where I was responsible for a business unit of about 60 people. So, but really kind of different world. I worked with a lot of SaaS companies in that background, but this is the first one where I'm really kind of building something of my own.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, so consulting, kind of commercial plus engineering, software engineering background. And
Yeah.
let's talk about Quanscient. Tell us the products and or services that it offers.
So Quanscient is building multiphysics simulations. That is essentially an engineering software for companies building advanced physical products like semiconductor devices or MEMS devices, which is microelectromechanic systems, or in the energy sector, or aerospace automotive. So what they can do is they can convert their digital designs into digital prototypes, therefore accelerating the product design workflow. Because you don't have to dive right in and build an actual physical prototype of your device. You can test it digitally. And it's not an industry that we invented. There is competition out there, but we just do it 1,000 times faster and with more scale than our competition, using cloud and quantum computing as our technologies.
So sounds pretty technical to me as a CFO, but you said now convert digital designs into digital prototypes. Is that correct?
Yep.
Okay,
Yeah, exactly.
So like you said, so you maybe you have a design, so you don't have to jump right into, say, mocking up a physical prototype. Is that
Yeah,
that helps in the process?
so if you could think about, for example, let's say you're designing an electric motor. Let's take something that's really kind of concrete and big. And you typically use your CAD software to kind of draw up your schematics, your 3D design of the device. Now you can take that design, put it into a multiphysics simulation platform like ours, define all the physics, like the electromagnetic physics, the mechanics physics, or the thermal, kind of how it, let's say, how it impacts the machine's behavior when it heats up and so forth, and how it will heat up when it's being operated. So you can simulate all that, all these different phenomena of physics. And of course, that's just kind of one thing we can do in many of our application areas. You need to simulate acoustic waves or electromagnetic waves or different kind of very advanced multiphysics behavior, meaning that different kinds of physics interacting with each other. So yeah, it's pretty technical and pretty deep tech, but that's what we do.
Yeah, seems very technical, very yeah. And so did this in your background, consulting engineering? I mean, was this something that you encountered along the way? Where did you get the idea for this?
So I did not come up with the idea for this. So I have 3 other co-founders and they all have a scientific background. So they were kind of researching the topic from various perspectives, one from quantum computing perspective, one from kind of classical cloud computing perspective. And actually I was then introduced via a common friend to one of our co-founders. And I was told that there's this guy kind of thinking about founding a company around quantum computing, and they would like somebody with a more commercial background to join as the CEO. Would you like to meet him? And I was like, yes, I would very much like to meet this person. And then we started workshopping in the summer of 21, kind of on the more specific business plan and so forth. And still on that kind of no major pivots. So still on the original business plan, more or less.
That's great. And tell me, so you mentioned some of the industries that you're targeting, but do you have a sweet spot industry right now that you're after?
So that's been something actually that we've been working a lot around, because like technically our platform can do a lot. As I mentioned, we have a customer working with electric motors. We have one doing cryogenic cooling and such, but really the initial niche that we're targeting is extremely specific. So one would be nuclear fusion energy companies. That's a kind of, well, to me, that's very inspiring, because if we pull that off, that's endless green energy for the mankind. And our simulations are actually very suitable for that. And the other niche area is ultrasound MEMS devices. So think of, for example, medical ultrasound, the ultrasound imaging devices. They are all based on these micro electromechanic systems that kind of emit the ultrasound signal. And designing those things is a pretty complex workflow, and we can significantly help there. But of course, that's our initial scope. We can very well expand to a lot more use cases, but kind of when you're diving into industry processes that are this complex, you kind of need to know the specifics. You need to know the exact problems of the customer. And then you need to kind of build all the sales marketing materials around that. So we can't do everything from day one. We need to kind of a more specific focus.
I could definitely see that you need that subject matter expertise in each of these industries before you go out and reach to them. So it makes a ton of sense. Yeah. So very exciting and meaningful industries or projects that you're tackling with Quanscient. And so what year, let's talk stats and figures. What year did you found Quanscient?
2021, September.
Okay. So 2021, September. And do you have a headquarters location or are you virtual?
We do. We are based in Finland in a city called Tampere, which a little pop trivia quiz is the biggest inland city in the Nordics with a whopping population of 265,000 people.
All right, that's good to know. Biggest inland population, so in the Nordics. So now I know that for the next trivia game.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And then what's your current team size?
We're 35 people, and we are a little bit kind of distributed. So most of us are in Finland, but we have quite a few employees in Germany, in UK, in the US, and Spain. And actually one in Japan also, who are working more in contractor basis for now. But we do have a legal entity in the UK and setting one up in Germany as well.
Okay. So mostly in Finland, but distributed, which is so common today. And then anything you want to share around revenue ranges or ARR ranges?
Well, let's say on that still kind of in the initial stages of traction and kind of getting to this real validation on product to market fit. So I don't want to talk specifics, but it is still less than 1 million at this moment, but getting there with kind of increasing pace.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. And then tell us a little bit about your go-to-market motion, very specific industries, technical industries. Like initially at this stage, how are you finding your prospects, say in healthcare or nuclear industries?
Well, the good news there is that it's kind of easy to come up with the list of companies that are doing this. So that kind of helps us in our prospecting motion. Of course, using tools like Zoom Info in kind of getting the contact details of the people, actively doing account-based marketing also on LinkedIn and kind of direct outreach via LinkedIn. So it's really direct enterprise sales for us. And of course, the main focus is on large enterprises because there's great opportunities for kind of land and expand pattern on them. But having said that, we still do have quite a few scale-ups as customers as well. And our product is often a very good fit there. But the major kind of outreach activities are targeted towards bigger companies.
Okay.
And then, of course, like being sort of a scientific engineering-minded software, all the conferences of our industries are very relevant places for us to be, have a booth there, talk to a lot of the potential users and customers.
Okay. So sounds like, like you said, that enterprise outbound approach. And then let's switch over to the fundraising side. How much capital have you raised to date?
It's about 9 million euros.
Okay.
Up to this day.
9 million euros. And it looks like you had a recent round. I'm not sure what it was classified, but is this like kind of seed funding to this stage then?
Yeah. It's mostly it's seed funding. We basically did 2 seed rounds. So we called the other one late seed. Mm-hmm. It was a little bit bigger with a little bit higher valuation. That was 5.2 million round we did in August last year.
Okay. 5.2 million on that latest round. And then tell us what that latest round, what was the motivation behind raising that capital?
Well, it was really kind of giving us the capital to say we're not going crazy with hiring right now, but kind of to make some new key hires. A lot of them focused on kind of our go-to-market activities on the business team, but really getting us to that next stage, helping us validate the product to market fit, which is kind of, we're well on our way there. Now there's been some recent very positive developments in the sales side. And so what we kind of want to now achieve with this is basically three things. So, well, one, in our world, I would say when we're targeting these big enterprise clients, one of the key criteria for product market fit is that we can say we have like 5 to 10 very big logo customers who somebody can call and they'll give very good references. In terms of annual recurring revenue, that should be on the better side of 1 million, definitely. But we're also still making significant investments in R&D because we are working on this quantum technology. So basically algorithms for quantum computers. And how we think about it is that right now we have a product out there that has a great market opportunity, but the quantum technology is really the big multiplier of the future that can kind of have very significant impact on what can be achieved with physics simulations. So definitely that is one of the big goals for us. Keep maintaining our position as the number one team in the world in that area, and keep working on the quantum breakthroughs, and then say a successful entry to the US market, which, as in most things, also in multiphysics simulations, that is the biggest geographical market in the world.
And, in thinking about the capital raised today to 9 million euros, I mean, I don't use the word quantum in my daily language. So any lessons learned, for founders who are in a very technical space, and anything that you learned in that process of raising that capital that could help, say, other founders who are also in a very technical space?
Well, first of all, it does take a lot of time. So it's particularly when we kind of started, the network of investors we had was quite modest and kind of limited to Finland. And quite quickly, you kind of need to get outside the local pool in Finland. And I think kind of also profiling the investors, taking a look at the portfolio, and I would say kind of talking mostly specifically to deep tech investors is something that, I mean, obviously you can find a good match outside of that, but there's just so many funds out there that I'd say just doing your research and knowing who to talk to, that will just save you some of the time in that. And one key thing that I think is very important is, once you build that network, kind of also make sure that for the investors where you still have an ongoing discussion, kind of that you keep them up to date. I do quarterly newsletters to my investors, or potential investors as well, just keeping them up to date on how the progress of the company is going. And it's an easy way to sort of, keep in touch for the potential next rounds.
Yeah, no, appreciate that insight, because that does come up not frequently, but sometimes where, the founder CEO is that newsletter is not only going out to existing investors, but also potential. So when you're ready to raise that round, they already know you, they know your numbers, and maybe they can make that more immediate decision.
Yeah, exactly.
In you at this stage of your journey with Quanscient, do you have a favorite number or metric that you're focused on to guide the business?
Well, it's sort of, I mean, there are obviously these SaaS metrics that come into play. Once you start getting more data, you get more traction. So for us, it's really the ARR that we're following most. But I would say one that will be the most important one for us will be the kind of the net revenue retention rate in the future, because we're focused on enterprise sales. We're focused on growing these accounts. So that's a very great metric to follow. But I'm not really that much about individual metrics. I really like spreadsheeting. So I like to dive deeper into the data, try to kind of understand where this data comes from, and then kind of play with different scenarios and trying to understand what we should change in our business and what are the things that kind of impact this metric, like the small things. And then just, you make a 1% improvement every month, that accumulates quite quickly into significant improvements.
Oh yeah, definitely the 1% a day, or yeah, it compounds fast. So, well,
Yeah.
appreciate that insight. So ARR, obviously a popular answer. NRR will be
Yeah.
key SaaS metric, including gross revenue retention. So you appreciate your time today as we wrap up. Tell us what's coming up next for Quanscient.
Well, we're going after those big logos, so kind of hope to be kind of releasing news on some big new partnerships in the near future. And I would say make kind of a bold statement that I think what we're building will be, if not the first, it will be among the very first practical value, industrial value quantum applications. There are some pretty interesting breakthroughs coming out from the team.
Well, looking forward to it. And maybe have to have you on at a future fundraise and get the update. So you really appreciate your time, sharing your experience today. If listeners would like to learn more about Quanscient, where should we send them online?
Quanscient.com.
All
That would
right.
be the best place.
All right, perfect. And we'll put
Or
that in
of
the show.
course, yeah.
Yeah,
And
put that in the show
follow us on
notes.
LinkedIn. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. So follow LinkedIn for all the great content, and then also quanscient.com. And we'll put that link in the show notes. And again, you appreciate your time and sharing your journey today.
Thank you so much, Ben. Thank you for having me.